to lose.
Senator Chandler.
Well, Mr Acting Deputy President, I have to say it's pretty galling as a Tasmanian to be lectured by the Greens about an existential crisis and the need to act urgently on climate change today, while at the same time this same party are actively campaigning against a massive renewable energy development in my home state. Tasmania, of course, is the nation's leader when it comes to renewable energy. For decades, our primary energy source has been the clean, reliable, renewable hydro energy from our hydroelectric dams. It was these very dams that the Greens, who have raised this matter of public urgency today, opposed the construction of. Indeed, Bob Brown famously said that Tasmania shouldn't be building dams, we should be building, wait for it, coal-fired power stations. And now what's the latest thing that Bob Brown and the Greens are opposed to in Tasmania? A wind farm. And this is not just any wind farm, Mr Acting Deputy President, but the largest wind farm in the Southern Hemisphere. This wind farm at Robbins Island in the far northwest corner of our state would create major employment in the northwest of Tasmania and complement the abundance of baseload hydro energy generation in Tasmania to lower electricity prices and increase energy security. Perhaps counterintuitively, given their constant rhetoric on climate change, like what we're discussing today, the Greens at both the state and federal level have fallen in behind their former leader and confirmed they also don't support the Robbins Island wind farm. And why don't they support $1.6 billion in renewable energy in a project in regional Tasmania? Well, I'll quote Bob Brown directly. Dr Brown said the Robbins Island plan was visually a step too far. Mariners will see, he said, this hairbrush of tall towers from 50 kilometres out to sea, and elevated landlubbers will see, like it or not, from great distances on land. Its eye-catchiness will divert from every coastal scene on the Western Bass Strait coastline. So just so I've got my head straight on this, what we are discussing here today, Mr Acting Deputy President, in this matter of public urgency brought on by the Greens, is an existential crisis which we must deal with urgently. Unless, of course, the solution is something that might ruin the view. I've never heard such contradiction and hypocrisy in my life. The Greens are virtually salivating over the prospect of campaigning against and trying to block this project, the Robbins Island wind farm in northwest Tasmania. Bob Brown has indeed described it as the next Franklin Dam. And what a great comparison, Mr Acting Deputy President. 40 years ago, the Greens campaigned against and stopped a major renewable energy and job creation project in Tasmania. 4 decades later, they're setting up to do it all again. This motion today says the government needs to act, starting by supporting the global climate strike on September 20. Well, here's an idea. How about we act by supporting a $1.6 billion renewable energy project? Is there anything better that sums up the Greens than preferring to mount a public protest than supporting a $1.6 billion project which is designed to tackle exactly the problem they're claiming today to be so concerned about? Actually, Mr Acting Deputy President, I can do one better, because despite the existential crisis of climate change, in the last quarter of this year alone, Greens members and senators spent more than $66,000 on domestic flights. The leader of the Greens took 29 flights and spent almost $19,300 on Comcars. There was an additional $158,000 in travel for Green staffers. So while climate change might be an existential crisis, it shouldn't get in the way of Greens members flying and driving around as much as they like. Mr Acting Deputy President, the coalition government has a strong track record of meeting and beating our emissions targets while keeping our economy strong. We are on track to overachieve on our 2020 target of 367 million tonnes. This is a turnaround from the emissions debt that we inherited when we took office. And through our $3.5 billion climate solutions package, we've mapped out, down to the last tonne, Mr Acting Deputy President, how we are going to meet the 328 tonnes of abatement needed to meet our Paris target. We've laid out how we will deliver our 2030 target 11 years ahead of time to the last tonne. Central to this is our $3.5 billion climate solutions package. This package will support farmers, businesses and the Indigenous community to reduce greenhouse gases through the Climate Solutions Fund, building on the success of the ERF, which has purchased 192 million tonnes of emissions reductions since the year 2015. We're bringing new electricity generation projects online, such as Tasmania's Battery of the Nation and the Snowy 2.0 pumped hydro schemes, projects in my own home state, which I am particularly passionate about, and which, of course, link into the Robbins Island wind farm development that I discussed earlier. And we're supporting households and businesses to improve energy efficiency and lower energy bills. We're seeing record levels of renewable investment, Mr Acting Deputy President. Indeed, last year alone, we had more than double the per capita investment of comparable countries like the United Kingdom, Germany and France.